Hello, hello, everyone. Happy CX Day. Welcome to our live sponsored webinar by Medallia titled New Ways to Win in B2B by Unifying CX and Customer Success. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Molly Perrin, and I am a membership community manager with the CXPA. This webinar will be recorded and made available on our CX Day website, which is cxday.org, but you will also receive an email later today with the recording. For our CCXP certified attendees, this webinar is CEU eligible and will be recorded in your account within 1 week. I'd like to just take a minute to thank Medallia for their platinum sponsorship of the CXPA and also for presenting on this webinar today in celebration of CX Day. Feel free to tell us what else you're doing today to celebrate by posting on social media using the hashtag CXDay2018. Also, feel free to ask questions during the presentation and we will address them when we have a minute. If there are any questions that we don't get to by the end of the hour, we will post the remaining answers on the CX Day website later today. So to get us started, go ahead and enter in the chat box and please tell us what you hope to gain from this webinar. While you're doing that, I would like to hand it over to Dale Weideman with Medallia to start the discussion.
Great, thanks Molly. We're very excited. We're all about customer experience here at Medallia and we're celebrating ourselves. I'm also very excited because we have joining us, if I can advance the screen, our very good partners from West Monroe Partners and Paul Hagan, who's a senior principal with West Monroe. He's going to start off with some thought leadership perspectives around, a new trend towards blending customer experience and this concept of customer success. I'm also excited because I'm joined here by Jody Moore, who runs Medallia's customer experience measurement and action program. We take advantage of this in the way we run our business. And then I'm going to share a few new approaches, some new ideas to empower this blending of customer experience and customer success. So we do hope to make this interactive. If you have questions along the way, enter those in the chat and we'll address them, at appropriate points as we go forward. So with that, I'd like to turn this over now to Paul Hagan from West Monroe.
Hey, Dale and Jody, thanks so much for having me on today. Looking forward to a good conversation. So our topic, or my topic today, is really the power shake. It's how to blend customer experience and customer success to win. So, CX Day, I'm so excited because as CX practitioners and as customer success practitioners, we live in pretty amazing, remarkable times. New technologies, and I don't mean just digital technologies, avionics, materials, biological sciences, lots of new evolutions in technologies are giving us a landscape, a new landscape to paint as customer experience and customer success practitioners. The kinds of value that we can deliver to clients and customers is completely being changed, whether it's Tesla not only doing driverless cars, but doing driverless trucks. When you think about redesigning the Cisco experience, the food manufacturer, or any logistics company redefining how it delivers packages, those are experiences and value that can be completely recreated. Things like drones are changing the way that John Deere manages farm operations, and it's not only redesigning the experiences for farmers, but it's creating a digital platform and completely changing the business model. Things like 3D printing, again, are not only changing how consumers interact and or small businesses set up, but how bigger businesses can reduce the delay in machines going down by printing just in time. And virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain, there are lots of different technologies that are going to allow us to, again, redesign what the value proposition is for customers and how those experiences will be crafted. So lots of new experiences, a whole slew of different kinds of expectations are being set by the leaders, whether it's in the business to business world or the business to consumer world. Interestingly, a lot of people talk about the Disneys and USAAs, Amazons, Airbnbs. Some of these companies are both B2C as well as B2B. Amazon does as much business on the B2B side as it does on the B2C side. USAA is a consumer-facing company, but there is a consumerization in the B2B world, and those top brands are really defining this battle for customers and clients. And as customer experience folks, Customer Experience Day, you've seen and experienced this before. When you play the game of not Thrones customers, you either win or die. That's kind of the name of the game. It's a battle of customers because they drive your business. Well, many of you in the customer experience community have seen these numbers before. There are great benefits from customer experience, from driving loyalty, earning greater pricing power, having lower cost to serve. What's interesting is there's the customer success group has some of the similar kinds of numbers and great benefits for actively managing and monitoring customer success. There are benefits of maintaining loyalty and growing customer value by ensuring customers have success early on and achieve in their own terms what they're trying to do with a company. A reduction in churn leads to higher profits. So loyal customers spend 31% more with the supplier than your average customer. Loyal customers are 50% more likely to try a new product. Profits can increase from 25 to 95% just due to a 5% boost in customer retention. So there are these parallels that are going on between customer experience and customer success organizations. And in fact, both customer experience and customer success teams are on these similar missions to win that battle for customers. On the customer success side, their mission is to try to deliver exceptional experiences, nurture mutually successful relationships with individual clients, and they're doing that by assuring client success in the client's terms. How do the clients want? What are the clients trying to do, and how do they succeed with your products or services? They're driving health and retention, revenue growth, advocacy. They're focusing those customer success resources on the most valuable customers. Similarly, in a parallel vein, customer experience professionals are trying to design and orchestrate experiences that drive performance across all client touch points. They're defining a customer experience vision and roadmap. They're listening to customers, interpreting, sharing that data. What's going on? What's the pulse of the customer? Very similar to what customer success folks are doing. They're intentionally designing experiences. They're building a customer-centric culture and growing loyalty and revenue. Lots and lots of parallels between what these two groups are doing. However, they're both facing some similar kinds of challenges. Only 1 in 5 companies are delivering an exceptional customer experience that sets them apart. Again, many of those in the CXPA community have seen these numbers. Customer success folks are facing some of the similar types of issues. Fast changing customer expectations and behaviors. New technologies and data is bringing disruption. There's disruption everywhere, and it's difficult to make customer-centric organizational changes. It's easy to do piecemeal parts within silos of the organization, but customer experiences and customer success requires the entire value stream in a company, and orchestrating that isn't easy, particularly as it's changing and moving on. Some of the challenges, again, are similar across customer experience and customer success. Customer experience struggles to connect with the product, sometimes with operations, service, and strategies, connecting all of those. There's customer experience pros that I've talked to regularly have difficulty selling execs on the ROI of customer experience, and hence are resource strapped. And oftentimes customer experience organizations lack a clear operating model and governance to define and manage processes, to move insights into action. Similarly, customer success has some challenges. They're focused on delivering financial outcomes at the account level versus delivering to a client definition of success. So when you're focused just on, hey, what's the next cross-sell and upsell, you're not necessarily dealing organizationally with problems that undermine that success. They're shield clients from broken journeys and pain versus fixing them. So they're oftentimes reactive as opposed to proactively aware, and unaware or disconnected from the North Star and how customer experience delivers a brand, or customer success delivers on the brand promise.
Hey, Paul,
yeah,
if you don't mind, and this is a good place, right, where you're getting to this. One question I have, and this was prompted by some of the input that came in from the audience, are customer experience and customer success completely different teams? Or in your experience, right, you work with lots of companies, when do you see them, kind of really be separate teams with these separate sets of problems versus what you have at the bottom, right, this combination? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, more often than not, I see them as separate teams, but I also see that as a mistake. I think there are goals that customer success teams have that in the end are the same goals that customer experience folks have. Again, one of the problems in my mind is that there is a low maturity on both sides with underdeveloped key capabilities. And what I'm going to get into is essentially saying, hey, look, at a low level of maturity, maybe it makes sense to have them alone, but it's more of a lack of understanding the synergies between the two groups, the overlap in the mission, and how the two groups and sets of methodologies complement one another and really can help elevate and accelerate the two teams achieving what they're both trying to do, which is, I want to create great experiences for customers that lead to their success, that lead to them not just being satisfied with my organization, but being advocates, loving, almost being, in the words of one brand guy, irrationally loyal to the brand. They want more. They're willing to pay more. They see the value of the company. So again, I see the teams being separate. But that has to do with organizational silos, and I think a narrow focus as opposed to a more mature and broader focus of what they could be. But great question.
Yeah, and one more thing, I was having a conversation with a colleague around here yesterday, and he said, "Hey, customer success, that's just for SaaS software, right?" And I had to push back. No, I don't think so, right? I work with a lot of companies who want to drive continual usage of their products, sort of, and advocacy, and are continually, needing to buy more. What's your take on customer success? Is it really, in your view, just isolated to tech companies,
Yeah.
or does broader application?
So again, I think to date it has largely been focused on in tech and software as a service, largely because as software moved from license-based software to software as a service and a subscription model. The idea that most of your revenue after a certain point was going to come from renewals, and we need to focus on customers, using software, taking advantage of features and functions, creating a stickiness there through that success that the renewals and enrichment can happen. While it's happening in software, the whole concept of customer success is applicable everywhere. Most services have eclipsed products in almost every industry. And the notion of watching customer behavior, because it is, the software as a service is all online. I can watch it. There's a huge data exhaust that can come from looking at customer behavior, but that can come from anyone's product, whether it's a B2B banking or logistics services or machinery, all of those various different kinds of things. Customers are not trying to buy products, they're trying to buy outcomes. and that's applicable in any industry that you want to look at. So again, I think it's a narrow focus just to think this is only applicable in the software as a service. I think there's a broad applicability across every industry. It's just not necessarily gone there yet. But there's no better place than now. No better
I think
time
he really
than now.
hit on. I just want to say, I think he hit on something really important that hopefully everybody can take away. Any business that's focused on delivering outcomes really needs this customer success.
Exactly. And you know what, I think the other thing that gets really interesting is, customer experience typically has been using tools like Medallia for listening to what customers say. Customer success in the software industry is looking at what customers do, and are largely focused in there. You need both of them. There is with the digitization of most businesses and industries, watching what customers do and their behavior and that data exhaust and turning that data into something valuable is incredibly powerful. But that's the what they're doing. The customer experience side typically is spending time on the what, why. Why are customers thinking about, not only what are they thinking, but why are they thinking that way? So, and let me move on, because I think, ultimately this progression, we're at early stages of this, and oftentimes the debate around the differences and how they're separate functions, to me, is typified by an early stage where stereotypically customer experience is in a marketing and or a service-centric function. It's a silo, it's a function, it's a standalone team, and your stereotypical, not everyone, but your stereotypical is glorified sales function or a sales or account management inside sales function for customer success. As those teams mature, you get into this kind of mid stage where it's now more of a cross-functional program. Customer experience efforts are typically governed a little bit more. They have some sort of governing body that crosses functions from the front office through back office and operations. Cross-functional sales typically can consolidate around everything that is after the sale. And then I think, a mature stage, you get to a more unified, where these things come together. It is a firm-wide customer-centric mindset. You've changed organizational design, you've changed culture. People's decisions are made, but with the customers, the customer's needs first, realizing that if you meet customers' needs, and you've got a good strategy around knowing who your most valuable customers are and meeting those needs first, that drives business value. And I think there's really, many ways that these two teams can work together and learn from each other really effectively. From the customer experience side, working with your customer success counterparts, it's focusing on the part of the life cycle that drives the lion's share of value to or lion's share of CX. I sometimes, especially in companies that have a complex, long customer life cycle type of thing, the bulk of the journey doesn't happen, and bulk of the experience doesn't happen in the buying part of the journey. It's after the customer's bought, they're onboarded, they're getting up to speed, they're mastering a solution, they're trying to get value out of it, solve problems, get outcomes. That's where the experience is, and customer experience pros sometimes miss that piece of the lion's share of it. I think customer success folks are really connected to financial drivers, and customer experience teams often struggle with what's the financial impact. The tools out of the customer success world are really great there, and customer experience professionals can benefit from some of those models that customer success folks are using. And again, this data-driven approach to customer health, or the behavioral analysis, where customer experience folks often are working with what customers say through things like surveys. Customer success is spending a ton of time focused on what customers do and those actions that are driving loyalty and driving financial benefit. So many ways for customer experience folks to gain from the customer success counterparts. On the other side, I think customer success folks gain a lot from working with CX. There's an outside-in perspective and tools like personas and journey mapping to understand customer needs. So often with immature customer success folks, there is an inside-out mindset focused on growing revenues, making the next cross-sell, all kinds of things that are couched and framed through what the company needs, not necessarily what the customer needs. And some of the tools in the design thinking world and the customer experience world can help reframe some of the discussions to how do you really drive value across the journey that the customer sees, not the organizational internal organizational design. Governance to drive insights into action across the company. So again, where most customer success or many customer success programs at an early stage of maturity are reactive to customer needs, how do you drive what's going on and be more proactive in fixing things across the organization, even when you don't own it? And customer experience folks are often setting up that governance mechanism to bring together different parts of the organization to orchestrate the customer experience. And then finally, I think customer experience folks spend a lot of time and energy intentionally designing experiences. And this gets really into the proactive piece too, is that you know, rather than just putting together a set of business processes, understanding what a customer is trying to do, the jobs that they're trying to do, and designing an experience that allows them to succeed, from onboarding through mastery to various different contexts and situations. How do you design those experiences so they truly can succeed? So lots of ways that the two can work with each other.
Hey, just one more. If you go back that slide real quick, can you come up with an example or two? I mean, there's a lot of, but can you like bring this to life with a company you work with or an executive who's seen this this sort of ways the CS folks and the customer success and the customer experience folks have worked together more effectively?
Yeah, so we had Kim Moore Kim from Synergy Work, and she's been in customer experience, a number of different customer experience and customer success roles. And really, again, it's there are strengths from each side of the aisle here, and instead of working against each other, they worked with each other. She, as a customer experience person, reached across the aisle almost immediately to the customer success folks, and with some of the data that she had and some of the data they had, realized that onboarding was an incredibly important period of time. The first 90 days, many industries see that kind of thing, and whether that's customer experience or customer success, it's really about understanding how someone gets value sooner. They've got an experience earlier. They mapped customer journey, that customer onboarding journey, applied data to that customer onboarding journey, as opposed to just doing it on a piece of paper and then leaving it behind. And then looked for the combination of projects, created a portfolio and a governing mechanism to drive those insights into action wherever they happened. And that could be influencing sales and how they set up expectations. It could be in some of the additional support that they needed. But it was really orchestrating a number of different things across that. And again, using some of the financial modeling data that came out of the customer success side of the house to really help her make the case that, hey, focusing on customer obsession, regardless of whether you call it customer experience or customer success, it is about customer obsession and aligning your internal operations to what customers need, as opposed to aligning your operations to what you need to be efficient. That's the way they did it. I think of Rosetta Stone in the past. Again, not necessarily straight up in the software as a service, but the CEO, as their company was going from a language learning software to software, software online, where it's a subscription-based model as opposed to buying a language learning CD. The CIO raised all his arms all over the place and said, "Hey, we don't know how to deal with this internally. We're going to have all kinds of data. We can interact with language learners, in the middle of as they're learning languages. How do we deal with this?" And so he essentially became the chief customer officer. But he was very much like a chief success officer. They were starting to look at the ways that their customers were using the software. Then one of the first questions he asked is, how do our customers define success? He had one set of customers that were learning a language to go on vacation. Another set of language learners who were learning the language because they were getting a job in a foreign country. Another set of language learners who were rehabilitating from a stroke. Wow, 3 completely different definitions of success that you don't, unless you ask the question of what do your customers think of success, you can't even begin to figure it out. One of the next things he did was say, well, okay, given those definitions of success, how do they succeed? How do they learn language? And they learned that if a customer engaged with a language coach or connected with another language learner, their net promoter scores went through the roof, and their likelihood to buy again went through the roof. So it's things like that where again, super fantastic outside of software and service, but it's they went from a product to a subscription-based model where the service eclipsed the product, where again the blend of both worlds became really, really powerful.
That's great, thanks. Hey Molly, I had to not touch anything to keep this from crashing. Did you see any questions coming in from the audience? Maybe you went on mute.
I'm actually seeing one around, there are synergies, I believe, from BB Klein Thomas. There are synergies, however, I believe they should be in different groups. Customer success teams often have upsell bookings numbers that clearly differentiate them from the core objectives of the CX program. Again, this is where I might differ and say, do they need to have upsell bookings numbers? I think as a program, yes, your goal is ultimately upsell and bookings, but if that becomes a very, very tactical inside out focus, that if you focus on the customer experience, you will get upsell bookings numbers. So as a broader, if I'm the leader of a customer success team, yes, I want that, but so does CX. CX is not opposed to that. You have to do things that are beneficial to the company, but it starts with understanding that if you treat the customer right, they should want to buy more from you. And that's the upstream piece that together, I think those things still work together.
Great, thanks, Paul. So I think now I just want to talk. You were just talked about leveraging these views to drive success, and I want my colleague Jody Moore here to talk a little bit about how we do that at Medallia.
Thanks, Dale. Yeah, so I think it's clear the benefits of having both customer success and customer experience, and having those two groups work together, whether it's in the same team or different teams. So I want to talk a little bit about how we do this at Medallia. We like to refer to it as drinking our own champagne. Give you a little context on how we run our program. We capture feedback across a number of customer touch points. The two key ones that are sort of the heartbeat of our customer experience program are our implementation survey and our relationship feedback. We ask customers for relationship feedback 2 times a year, so in 6-month intervals, and we send that out on a continuous basis. So we leave that up to our account managers and our professional services teams to determine where in that particular customer's journey is the appropriate time to ask for feedback. And this really helps when you start to think about things like customer success and some of the metrics they have around renewals and cross-sells. They can really think about, okay, well, when can I get feedback that's going to enable me to have the most successful renewal? Is that 4 months before? Is that 6 months before? And we give them guidelines, and then they can work around that for each individual account. We strive to close the loop with everyone, with all customers, but we have a specific escalation process for our detractors and our passives, and then encourage teams to close the loop with promoters as well. So let's dive into some specific examples here. So this is a screenshot that our customer success team uses on a regular basis, both at the leadership level and at the individual customer success manager level. And what they can see here is their portfolio view of their set of accounts across their NPS metric as well as their revenue. So you can start to see where there's customers that are very happy, spending a lot with the account. Maybe these are great reference customers. And so this helps our customer success teams really understand what's the right way to go about engaging with those customers. Equally, they can see where there's high revenue but lower NPS scores. And so there might be some remedial action that they need to jump in and take with that customer. So giving them that clear view of their portfolio really helps them get to that action quickly. And then diving into what are executives saying, what are other stakeholders in the business saying to get to the why behind the numbers that you see on that chart. Let me talk about a few other examples of how our customer experience and our customer success teams work together. So this first example, this is a software company that we work with, one of our customers, who, when we implemented the program, things were going great. We rolled it out, and we saw in one of the early relationship surveys some pretty low scores, and this was surprising. But the feedback that came back was, where is the 360-degree view? Like, I don't want to just see a siloed survey response. I want to see, what's going on with this account on a holistic basis. So our team came in and said, okay, great, let's build that for you. And the result was their executive was very happy. So this is incredible. This is exactly what we needed. And roll out the next relationship survey, and we get feedback that we've got a great partnership. This was the tool that they needed to really combine customer experience and customer success in their organization. And I think when we think about customer success in B2B, this becomes particularly important, getting that collective view. The customer experience in B2B is about, how do your business's interactions with multiple people on the customer side all come together to create that quote unquote experience. And so seeing that all in one place, really defining what that experience looks like across multiple viewpoints is particularly important in the B2B area. Okay, did you have a question now?
No, these are some more.
Okay, so let's talk about a few more examples of how we help our customer success team. So one obvious place is renewals, right? Customer success teams are often tasked with ensuring that there's successful renewals happening. And what we've seen work really well is when these teams include customer feedback in those renewal discussions. So the quote you see here was from one of our Medallia sales directors who was talking about an experience with a large telecom customer where we were having renewal negotiations with a central team that wasn't as close to the program as some of the individual markets. And we were talking to their procurement business, so not super close to the customer experience program that they had implemented. But by including feedback from the key stakeholders in the various markets, it was super clear the value that the Medallia program was providing to each one of those markets, made it a much easier renewal discussion. They were very happy to then renew with Medallia and continue delivering that value to their business. So it becomes a tool that those customer success managers can use. Next. One of the things that we do in our relationship survey is we ask what we call forward-looking questions. And so the question is, what's an objective that's most critical to your success going forward? And we get some really interesting responses here, but the key benefit is that we can start to see what our customers are asking for in terms of the value that they want to get from Medallia. What do they need from us to make them successful in their role? Customer success managers can then very quickly engage with the response to that feedback and identify ways that we can then deliver value for that business. So in this case, the quote that you see here was, we were seeing feedback that this team needed some help getting actionable insights out of their data. So the team quickly went in and ran one of our actionable insights workshops, and had a tremendous results with this customer, really helped multiple people within the organization start to understand how to use the platform to get insights that they could then use to run their part of the business. Next. So then the last example that I've captured here is really about how we innovate around how we deliver value to our customers. So, we're continually looking for new ways to engage with customers. And one of the things that we've rolled out recently is a new business review model. And so this is a quote from a customer where the team had gone in and run this business review, and it went really well. They got rave reviews. And it's just an example of how you can use feedback to understand what's working and not working when you're innovating and trying new things. We're going to quickly roll out more of these business reviews. There's other things that we've tested where the feedback's come back and, there's some tweaks that we need to make, or there's been a few bumps in the road. And the customer success, the customer experience teams can come together, quickly understand what the root cause of that is across that customer journey or that customer experience, and then put in steps to improve that experience for all customers.
Yeah, I think, Jody, I've worked with a lot of our teams. This last one is pretty interesting because ultimately our teams are focused around customer success.
Mm-hmm.
But when they bring a lot of customer feedback, from multiple stakeholders over time into those discussions, and they say, well, here's some of the things we've been hearing from you, it just elevates the discussion and it makes the partnership work so much better. And I think that in almost every case, when we've had one of those quality business reviews that includes customer feedback, our scores end up going up in the next round, and we have a consistent level of expansion. Yeah,
for sure. It becomes a tool that we can use to continue to build that partnership with the core team on the customer side, right? It's us going in and helping that team within the client side really understand, okay, what are your stakeholders saying, and how can we collectively come up with a customer experience program and a roadmap that's going to continue to deliver value to your broad set of stakeholders. So absolutely, I think that's a great example.
So, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Paul, are you seeing any, like I said, I can't see the questions coming in because I'm being very careful. Anything coming in from the group?
That was partly the slides were not advancing, so I think we've got the quotes here, but we're not quite sure if the slides were advancing there.
Are you seeing a slide that says more ways this helps our customer success?
Ways this helps our customer success, the renewals, engagement, and innovation for customers.
Yeah.
That's the right slide.
Okay, good.
Okay. So, little technical challenges here. Well, I've got just a few things to say, and then hopefully we'll wrap up with some discussions. What I've been seeing, what's going on now here at Medallia, customer experience is really evolving. And when I got started 15 years ago, before I had gray hair, we were just, paving the cow path. People had been doing paper surveys, and it was like, oh, we can put these on the internet, woohoo, and deliver them interactively on the web. And then it was realized, well, that wasn't driving change in the organization. And then we moved into a more operational focus of getting feedback out to stakeholders across the business, to the front lines, and enabling accountability. And Medallia's built a good business around that. But what we're hearing, and especially with this new blending of customer success focus, what you said, the what data about how we're doing with customers, with the why that we get from surveys, there's this need to really orchestrate all of those perspectives. And that's some of the things that we're starting to move forward. We're talking about, I'm seeing the development of new capabilities. I'm not going to do a whole commercial about Medallia, but there's some interesting areas I think people might want to think about. And one of those categories are new ways to engage customers. Every B2B company I talk to, senior leaders there say, I'm really dubious that surveys are the full answer. There's too many of them out there. I never fill out surveys. Well, we know it's not true because we track our survey response rates, and our most successful customers get really good response rates. But still, there's new ways to engage customers. And one of the most important ones I'm excited about is leveraging messaging platforms. Now you don't have to wait until an experience is completed. As soon as it gets started, you can ping a customer, leveraging mobile messaging technologies, whether that's SMS or a messenger tool, and find out how it's going in the moment. I was just out visiting with Honeywell, one of our great customers, and they're particularly excited about this for Asia Pacific because there's less adoption of desktop PCs. A lot of the staff that they're working with, are younger, millennials, mobile centric. The notion of being able to have a conversation with those contacts as a way of capturing feedback right as service is being delivered, super, super compelling. Another notion is now, like Paul, you were talking about how more businesses are being digitized. That means there's more opportunities to get feedback in the moment from people using their products. So at our conference, IBM was talking about how they've built customer feedback into over 300 of their products. And I was just talking to somebody on the program team, I believe it's over 1,000 now, where people, as they use these software or software-enabled products, can provide feedback either on demand or at key moments of truth. And so in the B2B world, if you can get feedback just as people are actually experiencing the product, which is the value proposition they bought, I think that's really compelling. So that really expands the notion of collecting feedback in all the right ways. And those are some key things.
Hey, Dale, I'm curious on that, because you're starting to talk about different ways of collecting, evolving well beyond the survey into more of this conversational type of interface. We certainly see a rise of the chatbots and messaging platforms in the consumer space. Are you seeing much in the B2B space there for engaging in these conversations and automating them, but then actually gathering feedback in an unstructured way through those kinds of interfaces?
I see a lot of interest, and I know I think it's important, especially in product feedback. Instead of sort of waiting until some point in time to send someone an email that might get a little stuck in their email box, while they're actually getting value from a product, either giving the customer an opt-in chance to provide that feedback, or an unobtrusive request at a reasonable schedule. Hey, how's it working for you? Do you have any feedback that can help us make this better? This is some of the places we're starting to roll this out, and we're seeing a lot of traction. The conversational is newer, but particularly of interest to companies who provide field service. They're sending sessions out. Maybe the customer environment is not behind a desk, and so we don't think it's just a B2C thing. I think it's pretty applicable to B2B. We're also seeing lots of interest in getting more insights from employees, right? Your staff works with customers all the time, and the old suggestion box doesn't work, right? People send in a note, and then it doesn't get, nobody looks at it, doesn't get acted on, then people get frustrated. Where there's real interest in a system that can take ideas and drive, three things: action, visibility, and accountability. And we're working with some companies who are starting to employ this, right? They get ideas and initiatives, and with a workflow that enables ideas to be evaluated and initiatives to be tracked. One company that did this is ABM AMRO, and they rolled out this mechanism, and they were able to capture over 1,500 employee suggestions in the first 7 months they rolled this out. And almost half of these were approved for action. And a lot of these initiatives are actually already being implemented. There's one story, so this is in Italy, and they come to near the end of the mortgage period. It's called the economic period. And what would happen is about a month before the end of the mortgage, send a notification out to the customer. Well, a lot of these mortgages, still had a payment due. They were some type of balloon. And then it was a big scramble to figure out for the customer to quickly, figure out how to wrap up the payment of the refinancing of their payment due. And then also for the staff who had to work with them, who were very frustrated because there's too much pressure. Well, employees came up with an idea. Why don't you send out the notice 6 months in advance and put a complete description of all the steps and options that are available for the customer on our website? Seemed pretty practical. They did that, and they found a dramatic improvement in customer satisfaction with the end of that process. So, and that was also really motivating for the employees who saw their idea actually implemented in the business. Essentially no cost to them and tremendous value all the way around. So this ability to capture employee insights about the customer experience and drive ideas and initiatives was really powerful. And then a new capability that we're looking at is a new way of looking at account health. I want to reflect back to what you were saying, Paul, right? Both the what and the why. We've always been great about capturing the why behind customer experience. Why customers feel the way they do because they tell us. But if we can also see, what level of adoption does the customer have? What level of usage, right? What are support issues? What are billing issues? Have there been any delays in projects? Those are all the what data. The problem is right now, those are in so many different systems. And we see this here. I mean, these are some of the systems we use at Medallia. And so pulling this all together has been a challenge. What we want to do is combine this express experience feedback, right? What customers tell us, what we see from systems that track what they actually are happening. Was the product delivered on time? Has the product been available at 100% level, or what's the SLA? Those sort of actual experience data points. And then insights from what employees are telling us that they see in the customer experience. Pull all that together. And, the notion is then it's going to be, the experience, the inside out account data, and the employee insights are a way to really get a much more comprehensive view and drive more value. And what that could look like are dashboards that combine both experience data and actual performance data that show key trends and that link to Medallia for a more complete view of the customer experience. It can be automated action that enables teams to drive sales engagement. One really exciting area is sometimes customer success teams or account management teams have a pretty big workload. They're asked to manage 20 or 40 or 100 or more accounts. Well, if we can set up automated tech touch, one executive I was talking to the other day, she said, we really just can't afford to hug every one of our customers. Well, what if you could tech hug those customers, right? You can So those are some of the things that we're enabling now with a more integrated capability.
Hey, Dale, just curious,
Yeah.
Many customer success folks have tools like Tatango or Gainsight, StrikeDeck, those types of things. Are you ingesting data from them, or are they ingesting data from you? And then you've got CRM, Microsoft and Salesforce out there. Do those things sit in those platforms? How do these customer focused platforms kind of work together?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We see multiple paths, right? There's some customers who are making a lot of those solutions you talked about were responses to the fact that CRM didn't fully fulfill its promise, right? CRM is supposed to be the one golden source of all information about customers, but it just doesn't seem to work. And so therefore, the Gainsights of the world and Tatangos and others have come to the fore. And in both cases, those systems are systems that are primarily about the what. The Gainsights of the world get more usage and adoption data. They integrate financials and account and contact information in better ways. Well, they still need the why. And so we are working with a number of customers. A lot of our best customers work with those kinds of companies and also work with Medallia. And we're enabling them to integrate the why that Medallia gives them into those systems. Then for some customers where they haven't really adopted those solutions yet, we're coming out with some of the capabilities that we're just talking about here, that maybe if you get Medallia with this more comprehensive view, you won't need to have a separate customer success solution. We're working on alternatives for some companies to combine the what with the why. So we got all three channels, right? Accenture has done great work with us to integrate Medallia data into Salesforce at some really good companies, including British Telecom. We have customers who are using Medallia and Gainsight to think very successfully, like CA Technologies. And then, we're bringing this capability for companies who don't already have a deep investment in one of those solutions. So we're getting close to the top of the hour. Hopefully, some people will be typing in questions here. I don't want to look at that box for fear of crashing it again. But in case anybody has a chance, which of these kinds of topics, right? The unification of customer experience and customer success, what Paul was talking about, or some of maybe the ways that Medallia uses customer experience to drive success here, or some of these ideas that I think are on the cutting edge of advancing how we understand customer experience in the context of customer success. I'm just curious to see if there's any more questions from the audience. Or from you, Paul.
I'm looking at the audience, seeing if there's any questions. Organizational culture, leadership engagement, often tends to be a big issue. In an where you've got a customer success person or a customer experience person who sees the benefit in joining forces. What's the best, what in your mind is the best way to begin? What should a customer experience person or a customer success person do? I'd say on Monday, but why not tomorrow since we're only at Tuesday today? What would you say are the first steps?
I think it's, I relate back to what you were telling me about Kim Hammond, which is, go figure out how customer experience people and customer success people should sit down together and, sort of mutually map out their goals and priorities and move more toward this unified front. I really like that framework that you shared of going beyond them as separate functions or maybe as cross-functionally governed programs, but to a unified view where so that means I think people really need to work together. And I see a lot of the companies we've been talking to, they are siloed functions right now. Jody, do you have any perspectives?
Yeah, I think, anytime that you're trying to get two different teams to work together, trying something new in an organization, going out and picking one project to really put energy towards is always a great starting point. So rather than trying to, tackle the whole thing, how is everything that we do going to fit together? Find one area of inflection where customer experience and customer success could come together in your organization, and work together on that as a way to start to chart the path for future engagements where those two teams could work together. An example of where we've done that really successfully here at Medallia is through our Red Account review process, and that's something that
no Red accounts.
I knew Dale was going to say that, but all company has companies have challenges in some accounts, and so we want to get ahead of those and make those customers happy as fast as possible. And so we've partnered with our customer success account management team on that, and really use the customer experience feedback to help identify unhappy customers early on at the individual account level, but also raising that up and looking across all accounts. And I think that's really where the customer experience, where my team has come in and played a role of saying, you know, what are the themes that we're seeing across all accounts, and how can we help the customer success team? How can we collectively go out and engage the organization to improve certain areas of that customer experience that, you know, are maybe impacting multiple accounts that we have? So anyway, I'd say a good starting point is going out and picking one area where the two teams can come together, demonstrate some impact, demonstrate how you can work together, and then go from there.
Hey, Jody, just on a slightly earlier topic, Renee had a question about, as you were talking about the example, and she was wondering if the example just that the new survey captured more information amounting to a 9 or 10, or was it that the new 360-degree view allowed them insight and then led to actions driving the results? I think you had a...
Let me see if I understand the question correctly. You're asking if the new 360-degree dashboard gave them new insights, and that's what was leading to the improved scores, or if we asked different questions. Is that the question?
Yeah. It was it a new survey, and the way you asked different questions led to the 9 and 10, or was it the 360 view that drove the action?
Got it. Yeah. So no, it's exactly the same survey that we send every 6 months. So it would have been the same survey, same questions. It really was the impact that customer was seeing from that new 360-degree view. Our team partnered very closely with them. They went out and they did interviews across their business and really understood what was going to drive value for them by pulling all of that data together in one place. And I think Dale talked a little bit about, you know, the benefit of having some of that data in one view, and they really started to see the value of that for their business. And so that's how we went from the 6s and 7s to the 9s and 10s, was just pulling all that data together delivered so much more value for their customer experience and customer success teams, that, you know, they were much happier with the platform and with our partnership with them as a customer.
Super.
Yep.
All right, we are just about at the top of the hour. I just want to thank everyone so much for your patience as we dealt with some technical difficulties. I want to thank everyone for joining today on CX Day and celebrating with us. Great content here from Dale, Jody, and Paul. So thank you all for joining us and for presenting today. Thanks to Medallia and West Monroe Partners. And I hope everyone has a great CX Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.